In the day's other news, President Trump announced a deal today that normalizes relations between the United Arab Emirates and Israel. The two countries will open embassies and sign bilateral agreements over trade and technology. The UAE becomes the third Arab country to have full diplomatic ties with Israel. President Trump hailed it as an historic moment to be mirrored across the region.
By uniting two of America's closest and most capable partners in the region, something which said could not be done, this deal is a significant step towards building a more peaceful, secure, and prosperous Middle East.
Under the deal, Israel would suspend its controversial plan to annex occupied land sought by Palestinians. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu welcomed the agreement as a new era in Arab relations, but he stressed that his plan to annex the West Bank was only on temporary hold.
Implementing sovereignty will only take place in coordination with the United States. President Trump, who is Israel's greatest ally, asked that Israel should wait temporarily regarding the implementation of sovereignty. But I did not remove, or will I remove, the sovereignty issue from the agenda.
A spokesman for the Palestinian president condemned the diplomatic deal as, quote, treason by an Arab country and demanded that it be reversed. We'll talk to President Trump's national security advisor, Robert O'Brien, about all this later in the program. Back in this country, firefighters in Southern California braved a blistering heat wave today as they battled a raging wildfire that has already scorched more than 10,500 acres. It broke out yesterday in dense forest north of Los Angeles and exploded in size overnight due to the tinder-dry brush and steep terrain. People in about 100 homes were forced to evacuate. Another riot was declared in Portland, Oregon overnight in new clashes with anti-racism protesters. Police said that crowds threw rocks and bottles at them. Officers then used tear gas to push back the crowds outside a justice center and a nearby federal courthouse. Protests have been held there nightly since George Floyd's killing in May. The FBI will be joining the investigation into what caused last week's deadly blast in Beirut, Lebanon, that killed more than 170 people. Meanwhile, the Lebanese parliament today approved a state of emergency, granting the military broad powers in the wake of the government's resignation. Human rights groups fear that the move will prompt a new crackdown on anti-government protests. In Belarus, a new wave of protests today condemned police violence against demonstrators who insist that Sunday's presidential election was rigged. Women holding flowers as a symbol of peace rallied in what they call lines of solidarity with the thousands who have faced brutal police crackdowns amid the protests. Families describe the chaos of the last week.
If you can, show up here at night. What is going on here, there is real torture. There are such screams here. I am an adult man who has been to hot zones, served in the military, and I have never heard such a thing.
Police have detained nearly 7,000 people, and hundreds more have been injured in the crackdown since six-term President Alexander Lukashenko claimed 80% of the vote. A two-year Justice Department investigation has found that Yale University is illegally discriminating against Asian Americans and white applicants. It is the latest move in the Trump administration's scrutiny of affirmative action in the college admissions process. Yale called the findings meritless and hasty. And late this evening, President Trump at his briefing was questioned about Kamala Harris not being legally qualified to be vice president. He did not knock it down, and for the record, she is eligible. She was born in California, and these suggestions mirror false questions that the president had raised about President Obama's birth. The Trump administration is rolling back Obama-era rules designed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and curb the impacts of climate change. The Environmental Protection Agency finalized its plan to undo the rules that had limited methane emissions from oil and gas fields and pipelines. Methane is one of the world's most potent polluters. A federal appeals court in New Orleans today upheld the constitutionality of the all-male military draft. It ruled that only the U.S. Supreme Court could change the system. The case was the result of a lawsuit filed by the National Coalition for Men. The military draft ended in 1973, but every male must still register for it when they turn 18. And stocks were mixed on Wall Street today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 80 points to close at 27,897. The Nasdaq rose 30 points, and the S&P 500 slipped 7. Still to come on the NewsHour, a deeper look at the Mideast deal between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. The Trump administration intensifies efforts to undermine mail-in voting and the Postal Service, and more.
This is the PBS NewsHour from WETA Studios in Washington and in the West from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State University.